All right, so let's talk about how you can travel without having lots of money. So I watched this video today where the guy was saying that, he has a decent job, he earns decent money, but then he looks at some of his friends who aren't working or aren't earning as much as him, and they just seem to be traveling everywhere, where he's like, why am I struggling? I earn more money than you. You're traveling here, there, and I've barely been anywhere. What's going on? The math ain't mathing. And yeah, I felt that because like I've seen that exact thing. I've been in that exact situation where you've got a decent job, you're earning decent money. You look at your friends who ain't got no job, ain't worked in ages, and it's like they just seem to be always traveling. Oh, I just went to Spain. I'm going to Egypt in 2 weeks or whatever. They just always seem to be traveling. Just like, how are you always traveling? I earn more than you, and yet I've barely been anywhere. Like, what's going on? But here's the thing: there's lots of ways you can travel without having lots of money. Now, some of those ways are, shall we say, not halal, right? Not kosher. We won't talk too much about those, but you never know what people are doing. Here's the thing: there are still lots of ways that you can travel that are not those things, right? One of those ways is if you are an artist, like a poet or a singer, a musician, things like that. If you're good enough, popular enough, sometimes people will pay for your flights and your hotels to come perform in different countries. I was around on the poetry circuit a little bit, well, more than a little bit, but it's been a long time now. And I saw that, I saw people who would get flown out, or people who would pay for somebody's travel to come perform somewhere. I never got that good enough at it for someone else that I had to pay for my own travel. But yeah, sometimes if you're good enough, you're popular enough, people will pay for your travel. So another way you can do it, and I've seen this as well, is you literally just get lucky. Like, there's people out there who just happen to know people who live in various parts of the world, and those people are willing to pay for them to come visit for a few days. Like, I don't know how you get that lucky. I guess people have to like you, and then those people have to do well financially, and then move to another country, and then decide that they miss you and like you enough to want to pay for you to come out there. So there's a few things that are just completely outside of your control, but I guess in the end, just be nice to people, right? Be nice to everybody you meet, because you never know, out of all the people you meet, which one of them is going to end up doing well financially, move to another country, and decide that they miss you and like you enough to want to pay for you to come visit them for a few days. So just be nice to people. Let's say you're not an artist and you're just not that lucky. There are still ways you can travel without having a lot of money, or more specifically, you can travel a little bit cheaper. So one of those ways is collecting points. So if you stick to one airline and just collect the points, and then eventually have enough points to use that airline for free flights or something like that, but you have to stick to one airline, because if you using British Airways for that, or Virgin for this, or Emirates for that, and you're just collecting different points in different places, it's never really adding up. But you have to stick to one airline. The problem with that is that not all airlines fly all over the world, and so you may find that there's just certain places you can't go to because you won't be getting the points if you use a different airline, or you would get the points, you just want to add it to the points they've already collected. Stick to that airline, collect the points, and then you can use those points for a free flight or a free whatever at some point. Another thing you can do is use a sites like Expedia. Now, I don't know if they are the only sites that does this. They're just the one that I know because I've used them, but same sort of thing, collect the points. The difference is, because you're doing it through a website, even if you use British Airways for that, or Virgin for this, or Emirates for that, or whatever it is, all your points are collected in Expedia. So everything's collected there. You still get your individual points from the different airlines, but your main points are collected in this one site, Expedia, and you can use those points for, money off or free flight or whatever it comes to, depending on how much points you collect and that kind of thing. The thing to note about Expedia, though, is that the points don't expire, but you do need to make eligible bookings within 18 months of each other. So if you're not traveling too often, that may not be a good option. If you're the type of person who's traveling like every 2-3 years or something like that, then yeah, you got to find your points are expiring each time. You're just starting again every 2-3 years, and you never really collecting enough points or anything. Another thing you can do, and this is the thing, is that when we talk about going abroad or going on holiday, we often think of it as like a 2-week vacation, cruising around the Caribbean islands or something like that, right? It doesn't have to be that. Like you can go to Amsterdam for a few days and it'd be like £300. You know, that's like flight and hotel, 300. I think it was like 300 something pounds I paid for just a few days in Amsterdam. But yeah, you can go to places for just a few days. In fact, you can go to places for a day. At one time, some friends and I, we just went to Paris for the day. We got in the Eurostar in the morning, spent the day in Paris, came back in the evening. You know, you can do stuff like that. You can get a flight somewhere, land in the morning, spend the day there, fly back in the evening. You know, you don't even have to get a hotel. So you can do stuff like that relatively cheaply. And those you can do a bit more often because you're not spending like £900 on the trip or thousands of pounds on the trip. It's like literally like a couple of hundred, maybe depending on where exactly you go and things like that. But you're not spending a lot of money each time. You just go for a little bit, come back. So you don't have to do long trips. You can do just short trips around Europe. And remember, collect your points, collect your points. But you could do that relatively cheaply while collecting your points and then later on use those points to get money off and make it even more cheaper. And another thing as well is that you don't even have to fly anywhere. Like you can just go places around England. Like there are so many places in England that you can go to. And you can spend a day in Brighton, like get a train to Brighton, or even cheaper, get the coach to Brighton. You know, get a coach, get an early coach. It's probably going to be a long trip, so you know you can sleep while it's driving. Get there in the morning, or get there early in the day. Spend the day in Brighton, come back in the evening. You know, you can do stuff like that, or go to Margate. You know, there's so many places around, or just so many like smaller towns and cities that hardly anybody ever visits. So you can go to one of those places and spend a day in a almost unknown part of the world, you know. But there's so many things that you can do just in England that mean you can have a break away from your normal surroundings. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can travel to places or go abroad without spending a lot of money and not having to do those other things. But at the end of the day, you're always going to have to spend some money, right? It's always worth going through your finances, going through your bills, your monthly outgoings, all that sort of stuff. And depending on how much you're earning, you may need to be pretty strict with the things you cut off. I know I've said this before, but if you don't already have one, get a savings account. You know, open up a savings account, put your money inside there every month. You know, whatever you can afford to put in there, put it there every month. You just get a little bit of the interest added on every month as well. And maybe it's not the big bucks, but it's a little bit every month that makes saving for a holiday that much easier. So yeah, a few things. There's probably loads of others, but I don't know any others. So if you know, let me know. But that's all for now. Peace.